Hello and welcome again to Jaded Law Channel. As always, this remains that law-based channel where your legal needs are met, where your questions are answered, and of course your issues are adequately resolved. I remain your host, Mrs. Omongo Ogbe. Now, before I get into the issue to be addressed for today, I want to find out from you. Have you subscribed to this channel? If you haven't done so, I expect that you should do so now. Okay, we really have tons of good content for you. Thank you so much for subscribing and for getting others to do the same thing. Now, in the previous videos on Wheels, a lot of concerns were raised, and I want to thank you all so much for the feedback. Now, one of the issues that was raised was what happens where an executor dies before the testator. This is a very, very apt and interesting question, and I would want us to address it right now. Now, this is it. When we prepare wills, we ensure that the testator has more than one executor. We usually advise for about 3 to 4 executors, so much so that when any of them die before the testator, the others would be on ground to carry out the wishes of the testator. Number 2, someone raised the concern and said, oh, you always refer to he. Why don't you talk about the she? All right, so I actually thought in my heart that whenever we hear the word he, we know that it refers to both male and female. Now, I need you to understand that just as men prepare wills, women also prepare wills, okay? So women also can testators and also executors, okay? So whenever you hear the word he or you hear the word father, please just interchange. I'm also referring to her and mother, all right? So having cleared that up, the third thing and the third concern that was raised was what happens, where are the other places that we can have our will deposited for safekeeping. Now, in the previous post, I talked about the probate registry. I also talked about the bank and wills to be kept with your lawyer. Now, there are other places you can leave your will with a trusted friend or relative in your personal deposit box as well. All right, so these are some of the places where you can have your will kept. Okay, so another concern that was raised is what happens where a beneficiary dies before the testator. I'm sure from the previous videos you've watched, you know that the testator's belongings can only be shared in the manner stated in the will after his death. Now, what happens where a beneficiary now dies before before the testator? What happens? Okay, this is what happens. Where the beneficiary is a child, and I'm sure you know by now that there can be other beneficiaries who are not children of the testator. So where a beneficiary who is a child of the testator dies before the testator, who may be his father or mother, all right? The death of that, and the beneficiary has a child, okay? The death of that beneficiary will be taken to have happened immediately after the death of the testator. The implication of that is that the child of the beneficiary would now be entitled to the share of his or her deceased father or mother's share in the will. All right? So I'm sure I've been able to answer that question for you, except the only thing that would rob that child or the child of the beneficiary from inheriting the deceased father or mother's share in the property is where the testator in a codicil, you know what a codicil is by now decides otherwise. If no contrary intention is stated in the codicil, then the child of the beneficiary of the testator would inherit the beneficiary's share of the property. All right, so that's pretty much it for today. I am sure you have learned something. Again, ignorance of the law is no excuse. Like I said at the opening, please get people to subscribe to this channel. We have tons of good content for you. And please keep those questions coming in. It actually helps to direct our minds on the areas to address as we go on in our study, in our learning of the basics of the law. Thank you so much, and please keep safe and be good. I'll see you next week. Bye.